hosting our Sustainable Communities event with special guest speaker, the Honourable Lily D'Ambrosio. This event is proudly hosted by Siraat College and Northside Muslim Circle. My name is Rachel and I'm here representing both organisations, and I welcome you all tonight. We are going to start firstly with a dua or prayer. Mohammed, if you could please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah ala kulli ni'matin wa astaghfirullah min kulli dhanb wa as'aluhu min kulli khairin wa a'udhu billahi min kulli shar. Thank you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for all the blessings. Allah forgive all our sins, give us all that is good, and keep us away from all that is bad.
Ameen. I begin by acknowledging the continuing custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wurundjeri, and the lands on which we're all joining from tonight, and recognise their connection to land, waters and culture. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I stand with our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters on land that was never ceded. I commit to listening and learning about how we can better support First Nations people, and begin by educating myself, my family and my community. Just wanted to let everyone know, firstly, that we will be taking photos through this evening, and we're also recording this session. This recording will be going on the YouTube channel for Siraat College. If you would like to not be in the photos, or you prefer not to be in the recording, please just turn your videos off. Also, I do kindly ask that we have respect and courtesy at all times through this evening. So Lily D'Ambrosio is an Australian Member of Parliament. She is currently the Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change, and the Minister for Solar Homes in the Andrews Ministry. She has been a Labor Party member for the Victorian Legislative Assembly since 2002, representing the electorate of Mill Park. That's nearly 20 years, Lily. That's amazing. Well done. The Siraat College has a long history of collaboration with MP Lily D'Ambrosio, who has supported us in various events and programs over the years. Most recently, Lily invited students and staff from Siraat College to participate in a World Environment Day and Volunteer Day event. Prior to the lockdown, Lily was scheduled to run a Walk with the MP program, giving opportunities for a group of senior students to shadow her in her leadership role. Lily has also participated in our special assembly following the Christchurch mosque attacks, and has attended interfaith Ramadan dinners and other events on campus. We welcome Lily D'Ambrosio tonight for our Sustainable Community event. To kick things off, we've sent Lily some questions from the community. The way the evening will go is that Tanya will be going through some of the questions as they come in. So you can either type your questions in the chat box, or if you'd like to personally ask your question, you can raise your hand and we'll get around to everyone to ask their question. Lily, we thought maybe to start off with, some people in our community may not be aware of, fully of what your role is. So maybe you might like to give us a bit of a rundown of what you do in our community, and then we can get started with some questions.
Thank you very much. And also, can I begin by also acknowledging the Wurundjeri people whose land we are meeting tonight, and my respects go to all of their elders, past, present and emerging, and any leaders who may be here amongst us today, and certainly in the broader community. So thank you so much for your invitation. Now, I'm really delighted to just give you a very quick insight into my role. Correct to say that I've been a member of the member for Mill Park for almost 19 years now, so it's quite a while. But as a member of the state parliament, my role is very much to represent the interests of our local community, whether it's in terms of improving particular outcomes, for example, improved transport services, health services, educational services, but also at a more individual level, often individual members of the community. And I always encourage them to feel confident to come forward if they have any particular issues that may be troubling their family or their immediate community. And it could be a whole range of matters where they may have some intersect with a government agency that I can often make representations and advocate on their behalf. And I do that, with full respect and confidentiality. certainly make representations as a member of government. So sometimes as a member of parliament, the party that I belong to is not in government. So the role can be different, but then of course being in government and also a minister of the current Victorian government, my role then changes again. I'm always the local member of parliament, of course, and always have those duties. But I also, for the last few years, have had additional duties as the Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change and the Minister for Solar Homes. And that involves certainly managing policy and programs around those particular portfolio areas. And environmental sustainability, I know, is one that is very, very close to the heart of our Siraat College. And I do want to acknowledge them, and certainly the Northside Muslim Circle for your hosting of this event tonight. And I'm very keen to make sure that we can showcase more the really terrific work that the school community does for the benefit of the broader community. And there's a lot of synergies there, and it just really is a strong demonstration of how all of us pulling together at various levels, whether it's in our homes or in our communities, in our school environment, we can all achieve so much more coming together.
Absolutely, totally agree. Everything with the school community is very, very keen to be as sustainable as possible, and we also encourage our school community as well. We really do appreciate your time here tonight. We can imagine that your time is quite valuable, and giving that to us this evening is we're very blessed to have you. So thank you so much, and also for Chris to be here as well. So Tanya, I might hand over to you now. You're very welcome to ask some questions. Go right ahead.
I've received a couple of questions to begin with. I've got one around the climate change issue. So climate change is a serious issue. What are some incentives available to encourage businesses and community to adopt sustainable practices?
Thank you. That's a really good question. And it really goes to the heart of whether we have a successful attempt or a success in combating climate change. How do we enable all elements of the community to be involved and be part of the solutions? Because I know that whether it's schools or whether it's families or businesses, they all want to play a role to reduce our emissions, because we know that the future of our planet, our globe, is under very great risk, and we only have to look at certainly the devastating fires that have hit many countries globally that we're seeing now. I mean, Turkey is one country where there's been awful fires, but that's one of many others, and that's just something that is with us right now, but we know about that. But my role as the Minister for Environment and Climate Change and Energy has been to be very targeted in and tangible in the way that we can provide opportunities for people to benefit and take part in the transition in reducing emissions. There are some communities that don't need assistance. There are other communities that do need assistance, and that's the same for businesses. And so we've been very targeted in that. And perhaps just some examples of the way that we've providing assistance. For example, we've got a very, well, in fact, it's probably the largest project of its kind in the country in terms of energy efficiency. We are making available rebates to 250,000 homes across the state to enable them to install at a very, very low cost, and in some cases at no cost, new heating and cooling systems that are high efficiency, but will also, of course, help to reduce their bills. And we're doing that because we know that there are many homes in Victoria that have very poor thermal qualities, if you know what I mean. So, that are very poorly insulated or very big and drafty. And to run a heater can be very, very difficult and very costly, but also, of course, produces a lot of emissions. So the best way that we can help those communities most in need is to provide big rebates of $1,000 to 250,000 homes right across the state. And we're starting to roll that out now as we speak. But it also makes them more comfortable in their home. It'll give them air conditioning in the summer, but also, of course, heating in the winter. So saving costs on their bills, helping them to tackle climate change. And we're also doing really good in terms of creating jobs for the installations of these. So that's one part of it. We've also helped a lot of businesses to become more energy efficient. We released I think it was about $35 million in the last few months for businesses to improve their energy efficiency. And that's been really important, again, for all parts of the community to be able to be involved in tackling climate change.
Thank you so much for that. I hope people can hear me all right now. Beautiful. All right, we have another question for the Minister. What can we as a school community do to reduce our carbon footprint?
Well, yes. Well, I think as communities, you've got a lot of power to spread the word and have the conversations either in home or in your workplace or at schools or at faith gatherings, because this knows no boundaries. Climate change doesn't pick on one part of the community. It doesn't affect certain parts or classes or religions. It is something that impacts all of us, and therefore it interests all of us. And so I think what is really critical is that, and this is not about making things political, but any opportunity to have the conversation, but also to share the knowledge about the opportunities that do exist for communities to be able to take advantage of programs that are available in the community. So, for example, we've got a massive program to help Victorian families to put solar panel on their roofs. And there may be still many families out there that are not aware of this program. So, and this is something that is open to many families. And it's where the way we help is that we pay for half the price of the solar panels. And for the other half, if you want, you can have a no interest loan, so interest-free loan to help pay for it. So from the first day, you don't have to have any upfront costs. You can put your panels on your roof, you start to save money on your power bills, and you're reducing your emissions straight away. So these are, and I know that in the Mill Park area, in the Whittlesea border area, is very, very popular. So spreading the word is really important, because one thing that I always say to myself and to communities, that don't lose hope. Yes, we need more action from governments. Yes, we need more action from global leaders. But have a look at the things that we can do in our homes, in our communities, because I am a hopeful person, and I know that we need to understand that these are serious matters, but we also need to feel confident that we can make a difference. And these are some of the ways that I'm hoping that we can show as a government that you can make a difference in your communities.
Thank you for that. Following up on the question for the solar panels, if we are not a house owner, for people that are renting and don't own their own house, how can they help reduce the carbon footprint? And also, I'd like to personally add on, since I'm a renter, I would like to have solar panels on my house. How can I channel that towards the agent or the house owner?
That's a really important question. And this has always been a very difficult area for governments, any governments, to what is the solution? Because if we offer an incentive to the tenant, to say here's a rebate, you need permission from the owner, the landlord, to put the panels on. And what's the incentive for them? So we are now making available the solar panels for renters and landlords. Okay, so so both have to agree, of course, but and there has to be an agreement by the landlord that they will not pass on any costs to the tenant. So we have a few hundred people in Victoria who have already taken advantage of that. So as a renter, go to the website. If you go to Solar Victoria website, just Google Solar Victoria, it will take you to the solar panels rebates, and then there is specific information there for renters. Now, of course, you have to have a roof. Now, we have a number of renters or a number of people who live in apartments. That is obviously a much more difficult situation because you don't have your roof space. And we're looking at ways to help those people separate to, of course, having solar panels on their roof. So, for example, the heating and cooling systems can be something, a program that renters can also access. That may be in an apartment, or indeed people who live in an apartment, they might own their own apartment. Thank you for putting up the web address. Thank you, Rachel. And I think Tanya might be frozen.
Oh, Farzana has got her hand up. Farzana, did you want to quickly unmute and ask your question?
Yes, I wonder if you have any brochure or something to pass it to the community, because, you know, by just, you know, letting them know it's not enough. So if you have any brochure or flyer, something, you know, to pass it, but also because many people, you know, when I talk to them, you know, even in the last, you know, few months about solar, they say that's, you know, it's very expensive. And even if they want to get, you know, borrow without any interest or something, but still to pay it is difficult, you know. Yeah. So what they can do, and the other question that, you know, Tanya that asked, you know, about, you know, the rental house, you know, that's many people, you know, they need, you know, but they usually the owner doesn't, you know, put, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you. And look, in terms of the information, I'm happy for my office, and Chris, I'm sure will, you know, can go back to the electorate office and work out some materials that we can make available to the school communities and also the Northside Muslim Centre. Very happy to do that if that's a way of, sorry, it's the Northside Muslim Circle, I apologise, and very happy to do that. In terms of the, you know, people not being able to pay for the loan, can I say the way that we've designed this program, so whether you're a renter or whether you own your own home, you can get the rebate, but we've designed the loan part of it, the other half of it, in a way that you only pay a little bit off over about 4 years, and we've done that. We've done that very deliberately because we've got an idea of how much money, depending on the size of the system you put on, we've worked out that how much money on average you can save. And of course, every home is different, but on average, we understand what the average cost of someone's bills. We know the average size of a home. If you put the average size solar system on, we have an idea of how much you can save every month or every quarter on your power bills. So we've designed the payback of the loan over 4 years so that you're actually still saving, even when you net it out, bill by bill, you're actually still saving money. And then, of course, once you've paid off that loan, then you're actually saving even more money every year for the next 20 years that you've got the panels. So we've been very careful in the way we've designed it. We encourage as many landlords as possible to be involved. I know it's not easy. For some people, landlords or may not be very favourable to doing it, but we are working and we continue to work with the Real Estate Institute of Victoria to give them sufficient information so that as many of landlords can understand the benefits for them too. Because the more rental properties who take up solar panels, the more tenants will come to expect it or to ask the question before you rent, oh, do you have solar panels? Because it'll help your bills, because you're the one who gets the bill as a tenant. So I think now it's small, it's very early days, but the more we get that into the environment, the more it will become more of an expectation, which I think is a good thing.
Absolutely, that's so true, and a really good point that you make.
Thank you.
Fasana, was that your question answered? Are you happy with that? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, lovely.
Yeah,
Thank
at
you.
the beginning, you know, just I didn't get it. How much did you say, Lily? How much was
For the
solar?
solar panels?
Yeah.
Oh, the solar panels are now, let me see, I've got it written somewhere, but it's for a 4 kilowatt system, which is quite, you know, it's a larger system. The incentive or the rebate, I'll find the rebate as we talk. The rebate is around, it's over $3,000. I'm sorry, it's online, the information if you want, if you look it up, but it's more than $3,000. So it's roughly half of what the value of a 4 kilowatt system is.
And 4 kilowatt is for a family, a place. I mean, a house. You know, with how many family members?
Well, so the case, the analysis that we did when we designed the program is that an average size home with an average 4 kilowatt system, okay, with an average bill, can save around about $890 a year off electricity. But we're talking about averages here, yeah? So, of course, if you've got a very big home, it may be different, and more people or fewer people. If you've got a smaller family, you actually might be saving more, yeah? What we do know is that most people who've taken up the program have actually chosen to get bigger systems, which are better for you. And you know why they've been able to do that? The average system people have actually opted for is about 6 kilowatt and 7 kilowatt. You know why they've done that? Because the businesses out there are all competing for the customers. So they're offering for the same price, we'll give you a bigger system. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of people actually saving a lot more money than what we initially considered as part of the design of the program. So it's working. It's very, very successful.
That's right. But to install it, you know, is it?
Yes, that's normally part of. The solar. That's normally part of the installation, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
I
good.
think so. Yeah. That's good. Have a look at the website.
Because I remember, you know, I had, you know, some advertising or something last year and even, you know, this year many times, but it was much, much, much more than, you know, 3,000 or it was about 10,000 something. Yes, it was maybe more kilowatt, but, you know, even for 4 kilowatt was much more than that.
Yeah. Now I want to just make it clear to everybody is that we don't let any business at all participate in the program. They have to be accredited by us. And the reason for that is that we want the community to feel they can trust the program. Now, we don't recommend you go to this retailer or that installer. We can't do that. But what we say to any retailer or installer, you have to apply to be accredited, okay? And including the products you sell and install also have to be accredited on our list so that we can be confident that people are getting, the customer is getting a product that is a good product, a good quality product, is a safe product, and the people who are reselling it to you comply with consumer protection laws, and the installers comply with all of the safety requirements. So that's to protect you, to protect the workers on the roof, and to make sure that you get the best value from this program. Yeah. So there will be a number of retailers there who don't qualify. Some of them we've suspended from the program because we've had complaints. So out, you know. And so you should feel confident about the program. Now, someone has asked about batteries. Yes, there is a list of accredited suppliers. Go to Solar Victoria website and you will find that list there. And you can be confident that if you go to any of those, that they have agreed to comply with all of our conditions. Okay, Now, now I think there was a question there about batteries. Yes, we do have a rebate for batteries, and that has become very popular too. So if anyone is interested in applying for a battery rebate, please have a look at the website.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lily. One of the questions that we have is, what is being done to regulate the pricing of energy providers and solar providers?
Thank you. Now, in Victoria, and this is the case for most of the country now, and people will have a memory of when governments used to own electricity. We used to own gas. And of course, those days are long gone. And what we have now, of course, is the system very much privately owned or owned by businesses and big corporations. Now, one of the things that I committed to doing when I first became the Energy Minister, when we first were elected in the end of 2014, I could see that we were starting to get more and more people disconnected from their power, more and more people being sold a contract for power with a fantastic price, but only in a matter of weeks or months, the price of that contract went up significantly. So there's a lot of trickery in the system. Yeah, you sold one product, but then you end up paying a lot more than what you thought without any consultation. There were a lot of bad things that were against consumers in the energy system. So I did a big review, and with the review came some very strong recommendations to better regulate the retailers, the ones who send you the bill, the ones who ring you to say, I've got a better deal for you than the people you're on at the moment. I'm sure you get those calls, I get them too. So we've got stronger laws to protect consumers. We also set a regulated price that if you wish to choose to have that regulated price, which you can say can't change. So every year it is reviewed because the price of producing electricity can go up or down, but it's a regulated price that a independent government agency sets. If you don't want to have an offer in the market like you do now, people can choose to do that. If you feel more comfortable just having the regulated price, then you can ask the retailer, that's what you want, and they have to offer that to you. Okay. If you're more interested in looking always for better offers, you're entitled to do that, because we are not interested in stopping you from getting a better deal. If you can get a better deal, good luck to you. Okay. But there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable to be able to do that, and for peace of mind, they prefer just to have the regulated price. So that is the new incentive that is the new rules that we introduced into the system about 3 years ago, and then the rest of the country also followed us, which I'm really happy to be able to say. What we call it in Victoria is the Victorian default offer. Okay, so if ever you're interested in that, you can look that up on the government website. And we've also stopped retailers from being able to, being able just to change contracts without seeking your permission. Okay, because that used to happen a lot, and they used to falsely sign you up for a deal. Within 3 months, they send you a letter saying, oh, we've revised the prices. They can't do that without giving you proper notice and telling you on your bills. Okay, that's really, really important.
Yeah, fantastic. That sounds good. Now, I know that you did touch on this a bit earlier, but someone has asked a question with respect to financial hardship. So they're saying some of the families in our community right now are experiencing financial hardship, especially in paying energy bills. What support is there for energy bill payments, and particularly during lockdown?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And this is a matter that I've been very strongly committed to in my role, because I know that my focus, obviously people will judge for themselves whether we succeed or not in our jobs, yes, but I've always had a very strong commitment to making sure that the energy system works for the consumer, works for ordinary people, like I think most of us are. Now, with hardship, we've got a special bonus that we've made available now, and it continues to be available until February next year. It's a $250 bonus, a power saving bonus. So if anyone there has a concession card, a pensioner, and there are a number of other sort of concession types, you can apply for the power saving bonus. Now you can go online, look up power saving bonus in Victoria, or you can contact my office and we will help you to fill out the form if that's what you'd like to do. Okay. And neighbourhood houses also can help you to do that. But what is really critical, of course, is that what you need is your pension card number, and you need a copy of your bill. And the reason why we need a copy of your electricity bill is that it just helps with the system. When we put in your application, or you can do it yourself if you prefer, you put in your application, it just helps to link you to the bill to make sure you're qualified. And then it's a really straightforward. I did this for my uncle a few weeks ago, really easy. I went online for him, and then it's you can ask them to send that money to your bank account, direct into your account. For some people, they prefer not to do that. You can just get it the old-fashioned way with the check in the mail. That takes longer, though, of course. Okay. So please, if you need more information about that, please ring my office. Okay, ring my office anytime. Now, I'm sorry, I think I've dealt with both questions. Is that right? Oh, and someone has said here, yes, Greenbrook Community House is also able to assist. And that's absolutely important because we've provided money to a whole range of community houses, neighbourhood houses across the state to also provide the service, okay, to help set up the service and have people coming in. Now, obviously, with lockdown, it's a bit difficult, of course, but when restrictions do lift, you are able to visit neighbourhood houses too, and Greenbrook is one of those community organisations that are also trusted in the community, so you should feel confident to be able to go there. But also my office, we have lots of people. We have, I don't know how many people come in every day asking for help, and we're happy to do that.
That's wonderful that you supply or provide that service. I personally didn't realise that. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
We will certainly be promoting that in our community as well.
Please do.
When people come to you, is there information or people able to help in various languages, or is it predominantly English?
No, we've also provided funding to the, and Chris will help me here, because I know Chris asked me about this a little while ago, and I can confirm money has been provided to the multicultural communities of Victoria.
The ECCV, Lily,
Thank
the
you.
Ethnic Communities Council of Victoria. And I'll just add some info there, Lily, if you like. So there's been specific grants that have been allocated to particular communities, targeting particular language groups for that very purpose, to assist people. But can I just reiterate what the Minister said? It's such a straightforward process, and it takes you really not even 5 minutes. All you need is access to the internet. You need a computer. And the library has also said, you know, they're willing to help people in terms of computer access, your bill and your concession card. But yes, at the office, we welcome everybody, Lily. So, and we can always use TIS, as in the telephone interpreter service, if we can't speak the language of the person who's applying.
Yeah, and you don't have to have your own computer. Anyone can do it for you. Okay, but importantly, it is very, very easily accessible.
That's great, fantastic, thank you. There is another question here with respect to disposing of e-waste.
Yes.
Can you please give more information about that? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, if I can just explain electronic waste. So most things, a lot of things that we do every single day, we come in contact with electronics, whether it's something with a power cord, like most things that we have these days, or whether it's a mobile phone, or indeed Believe it or not, I still have an old-fashioned transistor radio I still use here, believe it or not, and I've got batteries. So that's considered e-waste. So when the batteries finish, they expire, that's considered e-waste. Now, how do we safely dispose of e-waste? Now, a few years ago, one of the first things that legislation that we introduced in Victoria was to prohibit e-waste going into our landfill, okay? Because when we dispose of these materials in our landfill, there's a few problems with that. One is that they are very highly toxic and they end up in our landfill, in our environment. Secondly, and this is not in order of priority, secondly, they also contain very valuable resources. You know, there's bits of gold, there's little bits of silver, there's little bits of other types of metal that go to make these types of technologies that we should recover instead of throwing them away. Because we know these materials, they are all finite resources. Plastic is made from petroleum, for example. Vinyls, you know, the big burst in plastic manufacturing came about through the petroleum industry having spare material, which was offcuts and materials that they didn't know what else to do with. I thought, oh, there's money here. Let's produce plastic. That's where these things come from. And I'm not criticizing that. It's just how it evolves. So there's lots of materials that we should recover and make into other materials. So e-waste is one of those. Now, it has been challenging because we need to create a market to ensure that because these things are not going to landfill, where do they go? We can't just have stockpiles of this material, okay? We've got to turn it into other things. So we've been investing a lot of money into new reprocessing facilities to turn these materials, to break them up, to turn them, to extract all of the valuable content and use those valuable contents to make new materials, okay? So we've invested a lot of money in many recycling facilities. Many of them are in the Whittlesea area, but right across the state, and creating new markets for these recycled materials. So there's still a lot more work that we need to do, of course, with it. But we also know that there's really terrific jobs in this too. There's more money, there's more jobs in the recycling system than there are in your local tip. Okay, and it also very important for our environment because we know these resources are finite. And the more that we keep them in circulating in our economy, the better it is, not just for all of us in terms of our health and well-being, but it's also a very good economic way of creating new jobs too.
Okay, so in our area, where are the best places that we can take our e-waste to?
Yeah. Now, here we go. We've got some information here from Pani.
Pani
Thank you
has
so much.
the wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. Well, Pani, do you want to? How about you speak to this?
Good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I was just looking up council's website because I thought that there might be a question about where can we go locally, and I've just gone to the A to Z of your guide to waste and recycling and found the e-waste section there, which lists some places where you can go, such as the Wollert transfer station and SRS Metals in Thomastown. But there's some more information there. So depending on what you have that you would like to recycle or get rid of, all the information's on the A to Z guide.
Yeah. And what we can do too, Penny, is my office, whilst we're collecting that material, the hard copy materials that Farzaneh asked for earlier, we can also do a bit of a list of the websites that will be useful for these types of questions.
Fantastic. Is that your dog, Pania? Your dog has something to say. That's wonderful. That's really good to know. Thank you so much, Lily.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. I totally forgot about that. Sorry about that, Rachel. Officeworks actually do accept recycled material, e-waste. Yes. Absolutely. And I've actually done some events and announcements outside Officeworks in the past. I just totally forgot about that one. So we're all familiar with Officeworks, but there are many other retailers too that also provide the service. You might have noticed, you go into Officeworks, they've got big cages there, and you can just put your e-waste there. And also Siraat College, for those that don't know, we're also doing some recycling there, collecting e-waste material as well. And we have I believe not a contract, but an
an agreement with Officeworks, which is really good.
Fantastic.
Now we had another question was with respect to a very hot topic this week is respect to climate change.
Sorry to cut you off, Rachel. I think Fazana's got her hand up. She's been waiting for a little bit.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Just Rachel, you put, the link for solar, but I tried many times, but I couldn't copy and paste it. I don't know why. Would you please again, I don't know why I tried many times, but I couldn't copy and paste it.
That's okay. If you like, Fazana, we might actually email the link to you. So then when, just in your own time, if you like, you can then just click on it and you'll be able to open it and do some homework that way. Would that be good? Would you like that?
That's okay.
Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
So yes, I was just saying the hot topic at the moment is with respect to climate change and what we've been hearing from our Prime Minister. So one of the questions is on the topic of climate change. What are some things our government is doing to improve the environment, and why is our government reluctant to make a commitment towards zero emissions?
Thank you. Very good question. And by government, I'm imagining you mean the federal government, because in Victoria, we've got a really strong interim target for, obviously we've got the net zero emission target by 2050 and we've legislated that. And we've also got an interim target to halve our emissions by 2030. So half them. At a national level, why the national government is so reluctant, the federal government, my view is that I think there is many vested interests at play here in terms of minerals industries, which I think are very close to many of the federal government members of parliament, which they have good relationships with. But putting that aside, I think the Australian community have made up their mind about this issue. There will be a number of people, of course, who remain sceptical, who believe that we don't have to worry about this. It's somebody else's problem. We're a small country. Other people create more emissions than we do. But I'm very convinced and I'm very hopeful that we will change. People, I think, are very clear about this. People also, though, want some confidence about what their place is in the future, which is really important. Now, people will continue to protest. They will continue to advocate, to pressure the federal government to make an unequivocal commitment for a net zero emissions target by 2050. Whether that is achieved, we do not know. I have some skepticism about it. I think just from much commentary at a national level from many other senior people within the federal government who are opposed to setting a zero emissions target by 2050, I have concerns that I don't think that they will eventually do that. But, I may be pleasantly surprised. Can I say, though, that is only the beginning. Saying that we're committing to net zero emissions by 2050 is only the beginning. What do we do between now and then? What do we do in 5 years' time, by 5 years' time? Where are we by 2030? We know the International Panel for Climate Change, of all of the leading scientists globally, the UN panel, they are saying from their most recent report, we are running out of time. They're not saying we've run out of time. So in that is hope. But it's also a very strong message is that we have to act quickly. So while some of us may, if the federal government decides to announce a target of net zero by 2050, that's only the beginning. What are you doing now? What are you going to do between now and in 10 years' time when the climate change panel of experts, the leading global scientists are saying This is the window of opportunity for us to make the biggest difference that we possibly can to avoid a critical plunge in the state of our planet. That's where the work has to be. We can't set a target for 2050 and then just let people off the hook, the federal government, and they do nothing for the next 20, 30 years, or leave it all to the last few years to 2050.
So just in relation to that as well, if someone is asking what we can do as individuals, you know, to lobby or advocate, what can we actually do that can make a difference?
Into making a difference, you can do that every single day. Every single day. Get your solar panels. Get your, you know, your new heating and cooling system. Get your $250 power saving bonus and put it towards improving some, you know, improving your energy efficiency at home. You know, the schools. You know, the schools at, you know, Siraat College, in terms of all of the waste reduction that you're doing. You know, they're reducing food waste. You know, when we're more careful in the food that we produce, we're actually reducing our emissions. The amount of organic material that goes into landfill each and every year creates greenhouse gas emissions. If we reduce food waste in our homes or at school, just, you know, or rather than throw out any leftovers, save it for the day after, because it means you're producing less the day after, you're actually reducing emissions. So you can do it today. You can do it tonight when you go home and eat or produce breakfast. Now, all of that added together is the global effort that we need that will make a big difference. It won't make the only difference, but it will be a big contributor. So, for example, we're all going to be, the Victorian government is going to help you to make that easier for you. We announced last year that we were going to have 4 new bins or 4 services in our community right across the state, and that by the late 2020s, that we would require food and organic materials to be, well, by 2030, we're going to halve the amount of organic waste to go into landfill, number one, okay, halve that. How do we help get there? Well, we're going to require all councils by a certain date. We need to give them opportunity to establish the systems across residents across each council area, but we'll have a separate collection for food and organic materials, so that you're not putting it in the same bin as your metal or your green or other materials that get contaminated. That makes it easier to reprocess it, to turn it into other materials like compost, for example, or bioenergy. So I know that there are a number of councils who already started to move to have separate collection for food and organics in the one container. We're going to, very soon, I'll be announcing what the standards will be for all of those at a state level, and introducing legislation to ensure that all council areas meet the targets that we have to do it this way. We have to, because it's about making it easier for you to understand what goes into which bin, for example, okay, at your home. Now, what's going to be really important is that we actually play an important role in educating people, because these things, you know, will mean different things to people, and we have to be really clear and give people the opportunity, because we know people want to do the right thing. We just need to make sure that you have all of the information. We've got the education campaigns to make it easy for you to make those right choices at home in terms of which material goes into which bin.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed in our council, we do have the green bins for the organic waste, which is really good. Yeah. I did notice that someone had their hand up. I'm not sure the name, but it has the initials MK on my list here. You're welcome to ask your question if you'd like to go right ahead.
Yes, my name is Majib Kazi. I actually live in Faulkner. This question to Lily she just explained that extra services we can get it from the council. My question is to that we already paying the this very expensive council bill every year. Is that mean that we'll be paying extra charges for that these services extra?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and thank you very much. And I say hello to you in Faulkner. I grew up in Faulkner.
Yeah, I know that actually. I'm actually, if I remind you,
What's that? Sorry.
Maybe I should say that I'm your neighbor actually.
Oh, you live behind Dowling Street.
Exactly.
Oh, hello. Okay, very good, excellent. Anyway, good to hear from you again. Anyway, I hope you're well.
Thank you.
It was my father's home that we recently sold.
Yes.
Thank you. So, yes. Now, this is a really important question that people will assume that it's going to cost more on your rates. Now, I'm not going to say to you here, I promise you it won't increase your rates, okay? It will very much depend, and for some councils, believe it or not, it will actually save some money. And the reason why, and it depends, okay? So it depends on your council area and how much at the moment they're paying for their collection services, okay? And that will depend on the contracts that they have, okay? So one size doesn't fit all when we're talking about the cost issue. But importantly, we're also, as a state government, we're going to be offering every council some funds to contribute towards the new system, to contribute towards the new bins, for example. So, for example, part of the system that will be requiring to be introduced is that glass is separated out from the paper and the plastic bins. Now, the reason for that, and I'll explain that, is that glass, when it's broken up, contaminates the paper and the cardboard, which makes it very hard to reprocess the paper and the cardboard when it goes to the recycling facility. So separating all of those out makes it easier to recycle and it much more cost effective. Anyway, so we are going to contribute, and we've already offered some money to councils, and we're working through how they accept those funds to help them, because we know that leaving this just to councils and to ratepayers to cover the full cost is not fair. We want to contribute to it, and that's exactly what we'll be doing. And in some cases, it may actually be saving councils and therefore ratepayers money, okay, depending on how they've struck their contracts at the moment.
Thank you.
That is a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Now, Lily, I know that we're getting very close. Actually, we're 1 minute away from 7:30. So I wanted to ask how you're going for time, because I do notice there are some more questions coming through. Are you happy to keep answering?
I'm happy to keep answering, yes.
Okay, so I'll read out the next one. One person has asked, where can people find out how to take action in their own community or council rather than relying on the state government, when each of us should become active for climate and the environment? Good question.
Oh, that's really great question. Look, I know that the council does do a number of things. If it's environmental, for example, there's I think they do have some information on their website about how they can get involved and the types of services. So there's a number of community organisations out there that do cleanup days, for example, or tree planting days, and a lot of those communities use Whittlesea website as a bit of a notice board for the community. In terms of climate action, I think that there will also be some information there, but please go to the Sustainability Victoria. Sustainability Victoria is a really good resource, so their website, for some of that information. And sometimes if you're in a community that perhaps doesn't have what you think should be happening, you can start something up too. Even just starting small steps with people in your street is a good thing. Have conversations about reducing your consumption of food waste, for example. Have a look at what you've got in your home in terms of old paint tins and old chemicals that you know, what you don't know what to do with. We know that there are services that do enable you to take there to dispose of them safely. And I think maybe all going well, I think Whittlesy's got some drop-off collection happening soon in terms of detoxing your home program. I think it's a paint back program. So have a look around. And I know there's lots of local Facebook groups out there, and you could just start a revolution yourself.
Exactly. What a good idea. That's a really good idea. There you go, Tanya. You can start that one for us. Someone just in response to that, also just a follow on, I'm just going to jump ahead to a different question, a follow-on question from that is there any state funding in regards to running in community engagement programs to educate and encourage community on sustainable living?
Yes. Look, again, if you have a look at Sustainability Victoria, because they're an agency of the Victorian government, so we give them money. I know that there are a number of grants programs that we've funded over the period of time, and we continue to do that for community organisations at a local level to come forward, apply for particular projects, and some of them might be about behaviour change, education, or actually doing some tangible thing in terms of outcomes for climate change. So, and I think if you have a look at Sustainability Victoria, you'll see that they might be showcasing some examples of some of those actions that we've supported. So, so they might inspire you in terms of any organisations that you might also be a member of in the community. And let's not forget, of course, schools are part of the community too. We've got the Resource Smart School program that has existed for a number of years. We continue to fund that as a state government, and that really does enable schools that wish to become a Resource Smart School to actually, and Al Siraat is one of those, to participate in that and really develop up your own ideas in that community about sustainability.
Can I just add, Lily, the Victorian Multicultural Commission has earmarked grants that historically, I mean, at the moment, everything's been distracted with COVID, but they have had grants that have gone out for community engagement and education, and, you know, particularly to CALD communities. And I know local government, our local council also has a category in their community development grants that looks specifically at these issues.
Oh, that's terrific. That's good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, another question that we have is Victoria back on track with opening recycling plants to process our recyclables properly for e-use.
For reuse. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, reuse. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's right. Look, thank you. Important question. We know that about 3 years ago, there was a really rocky period there where a number of the recycling businesses in Victoria basically became overwhelmed and were not prepared for a number of changes in the waste streams and the changes in the markets. And yes, we don't want our efforts going into landfill. Absolutely spot on. And what happened about 3 years ago, where we suddenly had one or two key players in the market, if you like, collapse. They left a lot of people stranded. A number of councils that have contracts. But can I say, a lot of those contracts were really, really cheap and just didn't, unfortunately, weren't sufficient to encourage the recycling of the materials. So, which meant that the economics of it just didn't stack up. And unfortunately, we do have to consider markets and the way the economy works when we're thinking about, improvements and whether things actually do work well. And then, of course, we had the global recycling market change dramatically, and you can't blame other countries, including China and the Philippines, a number of other countries that used to be everybody's dumping ground, suddenly saying, we don't want your rubbish, you deal with it yourself. We're happy to take better quality materials for us to recycle, but not that we're your tip. And I agree that we have to take responsibility for our own waste. So So that then meant that we started the project of rebuilding the system, which meant that we made a very strong decision to put aside about $380 million. We announced about 2.5 years ago to restructure the system. And we've put extra money since then too to rebuild the markets, to help get new products, new recycled products, to support all of the infrastructure and the whole ecosystem so that we don't have materials, despite all these efforts, going to landfill. That's not what we want. And we've got very strong targets that we've set in terms of removing recyclable materials out and stopping them from going to landfill. So if you have a look at our Recycling Victoria document, our strategy, it'll be online somewhere. Just look up Recycling Victoria, a circular economy plan. You'll find that, and you will see all of the actions that we've committed to as a Victorian government, including investment money to improve the system and have continuous improvement. We also banned a whole variety of single-use plastics in Victoria, and some of the regulations around that will kick in about just over a year with a number of single-use plastics. But we're going to, of course, keep going further and making sure that we're finding new ways of being able to remove our reliance on single-use materials, because we need to stop them going to landfill. And the way we do that is to make materials so that they can be recycled, they can be reused.
Yeah, fantastic. And just in addition to that same question, someone is asking, with a lot of the residential industrial estates being developed, are there more recycling plants being built as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We are putting a lot of investment into new facilities for glass recycling, for plastics, for the new technologies. And believe it or not, even though it's what we call the waste sector, if we think about it differently, if we think about these materials having another life and a recyclable, valuable materials, then we can start to think about all of the new technologies that will come into play for that will give us solutions. Okay, there are some, for example, there are some plastics that we don't necessarily have a solution for because machinery that's been built doesn't cater to it, and investing in those new technologies, those new machines to capture more of the value of these material streams will mean that we've got more of that material being recycled, being reused, and less of it going to landfill. So if you have a look at the internet and have a look at a lot of the announcements that I've made in the last 18 months in terms of investment in helping these businesses expand their operations or bring in new innovation, you will see that there's a lot of work that's been gone into it.
Yeah, fantastic. Another question we have is, how real is the possibility of fracking occurring in the southern waters of Victoria in the vicinity of the 12 Apostles?
Oh, yes. I know that this is a hot issue. Now, the gas exploration that question is about is one that is not in state government waters. So we have no control over it. It's in Commonwealth waters. So there is a Commonwealth agency whose role it is to consider the merits of the application for an exploration license, and it's something that's outside of our scope. What I can say to you is that we've absolutely committed to no fracking in Victoria in the terrain that we can control. And we've actually put it in the Constitution. In terms of what happens, but what I will say to you also, though, is that my understanding is that the area that is the subject of exploration in Commonwealth waters is well and truly outside, very far away from where the 12 Apostles are. The 12 Apostles are in state waters. I think that area is a national park around there. That is, the waters are part of the state national park, marine park, and so all of the protections that we have in place remain to protect those wonderful assets, natural assets, very important for us. for a number of reasons, and they will continue to be protected.
Beautiful. That is really good to know. Thank you. The next question, it might be a bit tricky for you, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway. With the constant urban growth, is there anything being done for the displacement of our precious wildlife?
Yeah. Really, really, really big question.
Yes.
And a really important one. So thank you. And you know what, we should never worry about asking hard questions, because, who wants easy questions? Seriously, I mean, what I mean by that is that, my job is to do something with being in government and not just be there. And it's about hard questions. Yeah. So yes. Now, so in terms of sorry, I've almost forgotten the question. Sorry, can you?
So it was with respect to the displacement of wildlife.
Yes, absolutely. Now, in Victoria, we've got a long history, going back a long time, of vegetation clearance. We know that. It's happened over many decades, more than 100 years. Now, that's not an excuse. That's an observation of how critical it is for us to protect whatever the biodiversity that we do have and the vegetation. Now, there are a number of measures that we're putting in place. Some of it, I hope that we can make some stronger announcements on in the near future, and I won't be able to share those with you tonight, because at the moment they are Lily D'Ambrosio's views and ideas. They're not necessarily owned by the government. Yeah, okay, but I want us to do more. We do have some important rules and regulations around vegetation clearing, which require that with developments, where developments necessitate the removal of certain classes of vegetation, that there are rules around replacement of the vegetation elsewhere, or indeed working around vegetation to minimise the removal of vegetation. We've also got in place some strategic new parks that we're looking at developing further. There are some very precious eucalypt woodlands to the north of Whittlesea that we've committed to protecting over a period of time. As new estates are built, we add to the protection areas, and also in the Western grasslands. Now, I know that there's some criticism about how quickly that is moving, or the slowness of that. Again, I'm doing some strong thinking in terms of policies around some of that, about whether we can quicken that. But that, as I said to all of you, please, is a Lily D'Ambrosio thought at the moment. But I am acutely aware, and I say this because to show that I am acutely aware that I'm very committed to looking for opportunities for us to do more and sooner. Okay. Now, the other thing, of course, is that I've made I think a really important announcement that doesn't cost a lot of money in the scheme of things, but is still significant money, and that is to plant 500,000 new trees in the western suburbs of Melbourne. Now, why is that important? Back before colonisation, we had a lot more vegetation. We had lots of grasslands, and the western suburbs were, in fact, wonderful grasslands with a lot of native wildlife and the rest. Anyway, we know about what development does, and it's where we are now. My aim is to change that. And part of that is starting to do the work at a very local community level to give communities power back to really change things. Now, these things aren't going to happen overnight. We're not going to be able to create 500 trees that'll be an instant forest in the next 5 years, because these things take time to grow. Okay. What I am working on is a bigger plan around urban forests and revegetation, especially in metropolitan Melbourne, where we've lost a lot of that. And with that, of course, with high density living and development, we've also got a heat island effect. And whoever's asked the question will be aware of this, and others will be aware that with the removal of vegetation, with the build-up of concrete and all the materials that we used as part of a modern society, we actually have increased the temperature of our local communities. And you can compare, if you're spending a hot day in some parts of northern Melbourne or western Melbourne, on the same day, someone living in, the leafy suburbs of the eastern suburbs, you will see a noticeable difference in temperature. We need to change that. We need to cool things down. And can I say, we also need to create a much more welcoming environment for our wildlife. I hope for the day that, in our community, and we've got some beautiful areas that have been protected. Council's done some really great work over the years to protect our river red gums, for example, our red river gums. But we want more of that. We want to have urban corridors where we don't just attract wildlife, but they actually have corridors of support to be able to walk through. What about that? Having kids walk to school and having the birds singing. I think it's just wonderful, and that gives us a better life. But also for the value of that wildlife itself, in and of itself, it's precious, and that wildlife in and of itself has also is deserving of a place amongst us.
Absolutely, so very true. A totally different question now. Medical grade plastic waste, so good grade plastic waste from healthcare, so hospitals and so forth, are they being used appropriately?
The materials from that, the waste you mean from medical?
I think it would be the plastic waste, yes.
Look, that's something that I'm happy to do a little bit more thinking about or coming back, but I'd imagine that depending on the type of material it is, I think that in some cases for help, and again, I'm just imagining that with some particular medical procedures, I would imagine that it would require a particular type of treatment, which is more potentially about incineration. But I know that there's a lot of other plastics that are used that are not sort of so badly contaminated that there's nothing else that you can do with it that is safe. I know there's a lot of material, but can I say, in terms of medical waste, the Nurses Federation, their union, they are so big on this. They've got their own program of reducing waste in hospitals, in hospital settings in particular, and they're really leading the way. So if people are really interested to learn more about what they're doing, they've done this off their own bat. They're so committed to reducing waste, and they've come up with their own systems. It's really terrific. So whatever materials can be captured there, and that don't require that other specialised treatment for the reasons I've described, certainly the more of that can be captured, the more it can go into those recycling systems and repurposed.
That's fantastic. That's good to know. I think that that was my husband who asked that question, and he works in hospitals. So he's very proactive about making sure that what's recyclable is recycled. So,
yep. And I'm always up for more ideas or new proposals, to help get more improvements happening.
To be honest, I think sessions like this are so good to point out to us that you're very accessible. I think that some of us maybe see people in your position as not being easily, as so easy to access, and all that you're saying tonight is so relevant, and it really does, it certainly gives me the idea that you have an open door policy and we can make contact, and I think that's, fantastic to have. One other question that we have here, it looks like it might be one of the last maybe, any plans to reduce importing cheap Chinese one-time use plastic plates, cutlery, etc. in the future?
Yeah, that's a really good question, thank you. And now, absolutely. There's some policy work that I'm overseeing at the moment. So a few months ago, we committed to banning a certain group of single-use plastics. And if I can find my notes, I'll tell you what they were. And very soon, I'm hoping that we can go out with consultation on what the next tranche of single-use plastics. And the reason why they're in tranches is because we just need to make sure that if we ban something, there is something else as a substitute available for people, or else, you know, we're going to be banning something and there's nothing else, you know, there's no substitute. So, and I'll find this. Yes, okay. What I've already announced in terms of what we'll ban, and we're going to have regulations coming in sometime next year. We're going to be banning, we've actually declared that we're going to ban single-use straws, plastic cutlery and plates, drink stirrers, and cotton buds. Okay, that's something we've already declared we will ban, and we're going to introduce regulations to give effect to that. Okay, and that will kick in at the beginning of 2023. But we've got to do the legislation and then the regulations. That's next year, because we know that there are substitutes for these available in the country. The next range, of course, will be, for example, you know, when you get takeaway food, you know, what containers they get put in. Are there substitutes that are available for us to potentially consider banning those? Yeah. So we'll be looking at that in the second tranche of policy development. But people want us to do more on this stuff, and I'm absolutely committed to doing it. And so that's probably a long way to say yes to the
No, that's fantastic, and it's actually really good to see. And I think also in addition to that, it's having replacements that are affordable as well. You know, there are so many replacements that are around that just think, oh no, yeah, a lot of people just, yeah.
That's right. And can I just say, just on this, and these are the consequences we have to think carefully about, because it's easy to say, let's just ban them. But so, for example, with people who, for disability purposes, may still need to have a flexible plastic straw, they can have access to that. That's really critical. But in terms of, you know, retail sales, then that's a different thing. Yeah. So we just got to be aware of those things. But yes, the affordability is really important. So all the policies that we make, we do the analysis of the cost impact on businesses and the consumer too. Okay.
Oh, that's fantastic. It does sound like there's a lot more that goes into all of this than probably any of us realise. Yeah. So they are all the questions that we had that have come in to us directly and in the chat. Is there anyone who would like to ask any questions? I'm going to give final opportunity here.
Yeah, can I just say something? Sorry. You know, this Lily mentioned 2-3 categories, especially the rebate one and there's a panels one. Would you be putting the information into your local school letter? I know someone asked a question about the brochures to Lily, if they can provide.
Let me add a little bit to this question. Lily, it's your area of ministry, and you have been very keen on this area. People have been approaching us that the rebate probably July onward has been decreased, and it will be only the return is just 8 cents. And you understand that how much electricity on unit which we consume is being charged, and in return, whatever the solar electricity will be produced, it will only be just 8 cents will be brought on. So your input on that.
Thank you. And this question comes up once a year from a number of different people, but around the time that adjustments are made to the solar feed-in tariff, which is what you're talking about. Now, it's best for me to try, I'll explain, some of you will know this anyway. The feed-in tariff, so solar panels people have on the roof, people get paid a feed-in tariff only for the electricity that you generate, but you don't use for your own purposes in home. So the power that ends up just going into the grid because it's producing more than what you're using at that time. So for that amount. So as has been indicated, that feed-in tariff fluctuates from year to year, or might change. It may not necessarily change. It is calculated independently, and it's calculated on the wholesale price of electricity generally. Okay, and the wholesale price is the price that we all get on our bill, whether you've got panels or not. We all get a bill that is for our electricity. You have a look at it. If you study it carefully, you don't have to, but it's made up of about 2 or 3 components. One is the wholesale price. That's the price. That's the price you pay for the power to be made by a generator. It could be the Latrobe Valley coal generator, could be a gas generator, could be renewable energy, some of those big projects, yeah? Then there's a part of your bill that is the distribution transmission charge. That's the money you pay to have that power go from a generator to your home. Then the third part of your bill is the retail. So Origin Energy, Retail, Sumo, whoever sends you your bill, that's the retail part of it, okay? Now, the feed-in tariff is based on the wholesale price. The wholesale price changes depending on how much power is generated in any year throughout the whole of the state, throughout the whole of the country, and that will change. Now, if your feed-in tariff goes down, that's because the wholesale price has gone down. So you're actually paying less for your power anyway, the power that you use from the other generators. If your solar feed-in tariff goes up, that means the wholesale price has gone up. Yeah, so you might think you're actually earning more from the power you're sending out when the feed-in tariff goes up, but your bill generally is actually higher too. So I'm sorry if I'm hoping I've explained it in a way that I know that for some people it still doesn't matter. They still, get upset when their feed-in tariff goes down, but it's meant to reflect the general price of power in the wholesale market. But what I say to you, don't rely on your feed-in tariff. It's good if you can get money, but the best and the cheapest power that you can use is the power you don't have to pay for at all, and that is using the power from your solar.
And I think you would like to advise the listeners that they should use most of their appliances at the daytime if you have solar. And 2 is that there is the government, your ministry website, that's probably Consumer Affairs, or I don't know, where they can find out a competitive provider, and they can compare the electricity and gas. And if you use it first time, you will get a $50 voucher, perhaps, and you can get a best price on using that government website, Victorian government website. This is Victorian government initiative, and I think Lily deserve the credit for that.
Thank you so much for that, and you're absolutely correct. The Victorian Energy Compare is that website, and that Victorian Energy Compare website is managed by my department, and there are many energy comparison websites, but they're privately funded, and they don't necessarily give you all of the offers in the market. You can go to this one, which is government sponsored. We don't own any of these retailers, so no one pays for it. It's independent, and you can trust that it's got all of the market offers there. And it's $250 now, the bonus that you can apply for. It's through the same website. So when you're applying for your power saving bonus, make sure you also stay on that website and compare what you're paying now for your power bill and see if you can get a better price. Okay.
All private websites, they do have their own algorithm, and which support one website or the other website, which gives them more commission and profit, or whatever the favor they want to give. But this is the government website Lily is talking about. I think everyone who is listening should make best use of that. And it's basically, there is no algorithm. Government is not favoring any provider.
Yeah, exactly right. And in fact, thank you so much for the free advertisement there. You've been very kind. But it is true that a number of years ago, I introduced legislation with our government in the Parliament to require every retailer in Victoria, energy retailer, to provide us with every offer, every market offer that they have, so that we could independently put that on the Victorian Energy Compare website. Okay. Now you don't have to take those offers, but you take your bill, whether it's your electricity or your gas bill, go on the website, have a look. And if there's you know, something that you think might be more suitable for your circumstances, you can choose to go to another retailer. But I'll tell you a trick. If you find a better offer and you don't really want to worry about changing retailers because there's a bit of paperwork, you ring up your retailer and say, listen, I found a better offer. Are you going to give me the same price? The chances are they'll say yes.
And just for the benefit of all the listeners, that the name of this website is compare.energy.vic.gov.au. I repeat, compare.energy.vic.gov.au.
I think you've got someone that you can employ here, Lily.
Absolutely.
Rana, you're looking for another job, are you? No, we're not letting you go. That's wonderful. Thank you, Rana. That's really, really good to know. And obviously there's a lot that we can learn, obviously from the Victorian websites as well. So thank you so much. We might actually wrap it up. I just realised now that we're after 8 o'clock. It does feel like we could sit here for quite a few hours having a discussion with you, which would be fantastic. But I would like to just say on behalf of Siraat College and Northside Muslim Circle, a big thank you to Lily for your time tonight, and also Chris for being here. But thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed the program. Also Brother Rana for being here too, we enjoyed that. And we also had Miss Rahat here, who is one of the co-founders of Siraat. She had to leave a little bit earlier, but she has been on for most of the night, which has been really lovely. We are offering the opportunity, if anyone would like to stay online after all this is finished, you're welcome to. If you have things that you'd like to talk about, or just some, unpack anything, or talk about how lockdown is going or how you're feeling, then please know that a few of us are going to stay online for a little bit, and we'll be here to lend an ear and have a chat. So thank you, Lily, and also to Chris for your time. We're very grateful.
Thank you.
Can I thank you so much? You've been really, really kind to allow me to meet with you, and I'm really thrilled, and thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Thanks.